That looks sketchy.
Maybe a wee bit.
We're borrowing the Growing Green Family Farms minivan today because we need to transport a ladder to trim some of the trees overhanging our garden because they are blocking not only sunlight but the sprinkler system from getting water. So this is the tree that obviously overhangs our garden here. We trimmed it back some last year, but this pecan tree just keeps on growing, so we're gonna trim it back some more.
So much fun when it comes to fertilizing the garden, as when you have balanced the physics of your soil, so the consistency, then you have to start balancing the chemistry. And part of that is your normal NPK, like we're using an organic 822 fertilizer that is derived from chicken poop and it has added calcium in it, as that has a slow release of calcium that's perfect for our corn. But in addition to that, when it comes to the physics, is feeding the bioactivity of the soil. So far we've had great success with using green sand and then this C humic acid that is basically decomposed kelp and plankton. It doesn't necessarily have your large NPK, but what it does is it feeds all your bioactivity, the bacteria, increasing the ability for those smaller microorganisms to then make the larger nutrients more readily available for your crops. So we just blend these together in a bucket, spread it over the land, and watch things grow. I like to do about 2 parts of the crescendo, which is the 822, 1 part of sumic, and half a part of green sand. Mix it together, and you're ready to go. All of these nutrients you can get from Seven Springs Farms, which we'll link below so that you can find out what nutrients best suit your environment. The amount of tillage we did here is ideally more than what we prefer. For the more tilling you do of the soil, the more of those microorganisms that die in the presence of the sun, you're bringing to the surface. So if you have to do this, I really like this particular tool because it stirs the soil rather than flips it over, like a normal rototiller. This is called a claw. I'll link it below. You can find it on Amazon. But I like it for that particular purpose. Hopefully, in year 2 of progressing towards no-till, we won't have to use this anymore. When you're incorporating nutrition, though, you have to make sure it's incorporated to the roots. So what I like to do at that point in time, and it's something we continue to experiment with, is after you put down those micronutrients, put a layer of compost on top. It'll do a couple of things for you. It'll prevent that from washing away all those nutrients, while also creating almost like a blanket for the soil, which prevents those weeds from growing up.
So the last few years, we've been cultivating our own rainbow popcorn, and you can see this is from year 2, I believe. And we've been mixing in glass gem and Cherokee long ear. And last year we started incorporating in Dakota Black, and we're gonna add a little bit more of that seed in. But with corn, the genetics, it can start getting inbred if you keep using the same seed over and over again. So you have to introduce new genetics every couple of years. So last year we had my dad raise some corn from our seed in a different environment, and he saved all of the red seed for us to mix into our variety. And it was a cross between Robust, which is a hybrid, that we didn't realize was a hybrid when we started, but a hybrid, and the Cherokee long ear. And so we ended up with really good kernel sizes, and it popped really well. So we're going to be mixing this into our genetics this year since it had a different environment. We're going to be mixing in year 2 in there. This was last year's rainbow popcorn that we're saving. And then a new genetic we're mixing in this year is Pennsylvania Dutch butter flavored popcorn. This is supposed to taste really delicious. So we're excited to have that in there this year.
this is one of the seeders that I found to work fairly well. You can oftentimes find them on Facebook Marketplace. It's called an earthway seeder. It's not necessarily the most precise, but one thing I like about it is if you have soils that are slightly inconsistent in terms of consistency, it's fairly rugged.
Like clay.
Yeah. So whether you have clay, going to sand, or nice rich loam, this will handle it all. It won't be as precise as a jang seeder, but it is very budget friendly. So the way it works is you have this seed hopper here, and inside of it there's this seed plate, which is white colored. This is attached to a belt, which is wheel driven. So when that front wheel turns, the seed plate turns, and that catches seeds that are in the hopper, dropping it down a chute, which is at the bottom of this here, and the earthway cuts the soil with this furrow. Has the chain that covers it, so right in between the furrow here where you see this V shape is where that seed drops. So it gets it into the ground, the chain covers it, and then your back wheel, if you put a little pressure on it, will actually compress the soil to help increase your soil moisture level.
There you have it. All of our corn is planted for the year.